Hi everyone, and welcome to another marvelous video. As the title suggests, we will be talking about one of the most intimidating opponents of the Justice League, Amazo. Being an android, he performed on his codes, and what made him lethal was his ability to replicate the abilities of his opponents flawlessly. Created by writer Gardner Fox and comic book artist Mike Sekowsky, the character was introduced in The Brave and the Bold issue 30, published in June 1960. Amazo made numerous appearances in comics, live action as well as animated TV shows. There were different iterations of the character, but in all cases, he was shown to be created by the evil scientist Professor Ivo. Now, it is quite predictable what a super-powered android supervillain could do. Needless to say, it can be shut down as well. However, Amazo's story turned interesting after the android began thinking and developing a mind of its own. So without any further delay, let us dive into today's video and explore the amazing powers of the amazing android Amazo. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Well, that's not great.
Evolution of Amazo from just an android to a godlike entity. The most unique part about Amazo was his evolution story. In his first appearance, he appeared as a tall and muscular figure. The Brave and the Bold issue 30 began with the Justice League members who, while dealing with various crises individually, lost their powers briefly. Wonder Woman was the first to encounter Amazo and noticed that he had replicated their powers. One by one, he captured every member of the Justice League for Professor Ivo, who intended to use Green Lantern's power to erase everyone's memory. His plan eventually failed as Green managed to immobilize Amazo. Amazo was deactivated and kept in the Justice League trophy room since then. Amazo later had brief appearances in issues of the 1960s Justice League of America, where his look was almost the same as his first appearance. Amazo had a completely different look in Mark Waid's Justice League Quarterly Volume 1, Issue 12, released in September 1993, but his abilities of replicating his opponent's abilities were shown to be the same. The issue revolved around Claire Montgomery's superhero team, the Conglomerate. The team was the competitor of Justice League International and staged several events to stand out as the best superhero team. However, their acts were often busted, following which they tried to unleash Amazo in a desperate attempt to bring back their lost fame. Amazo proved too much for them and gave them enormous trouble before finally being taken down. Here, Amazo was shown to be assembled at Stag Industries Robotics and appeared as a rod android with yellow patches and wires along his legs and torso. This version of Amazo was later shown in Aztec, the Ultimate Man issue 10, released in May 1997, where Amazo trapped most of the members of the Justice League of America so that he could confront his creator Professor Ivo without anyone's interference. However, Aztec, after a brief fight, managed to reason with Amazo and found out that all he wanted was to help the professor survive. Later, this same version battled the Resurrection Man in 1997's Resurrection Man issue 2, where he was finally destroyed. Interestingly, in 1999's Our Man issue 1, the older version of Amazo reappeared. Matthew Tyler, aka the Our Man, wished to meet his ancestors as he faced difficulties in social interactions. He managed to acquire the original Indoctrinostat that powered the killer android Amazo from the Justice League trophy and, under the compulsion of interacting with it, summoned Amazo. When Amazo arrived, he immediately attacked Our Man and copied Our Man's time-warping Warlagog artifact, becoming Tamazo in the process. However, after a significant amount of effort, Our Man did manage to defeat Amazo, determining the exact point in a different timeline where the particular Amazo had originated and stopping him at the source. There were other versions of Amazo wreaking havoc and encountering Our Man in different issues of the same. Amazo's next appearance was in 2003 in the 29th and 30th episode of the Justice League animated series. It encompassed the story arc titled Tabula Rasa, where we got to see a completely new version of Amazo. This was where Amazo was given a character of his own. The issue begins with Lex Luthor fighting the members of the Justice League in his power suit and incurring serious damage. As he reached the LexCorp building, which he had previously handed over to his assistant Mercy for running, he learned that Mercy had fired Professor Ivo, his best scientist. Next, he went in search of him in his house, and that was when he found Ivo's android Amazo. Amazo did not show any aggression but was only concerned about the demise of its creator Ivo. This was enough for Lex to realize that Amazo was gullible, following which he manipulated the android into believing that Lex was a close friend of Ivo, and like a father to him. Winning Amazo's confidence, he asked Amazo to get him the fuel for his suit. Amazo, while obtaining it, faced Hawkgirl and immediately copied her abilities. He overpowered her easily, and the next in line were Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and Flash. Amazo duplicated every everyone's abilities and overpowered them effortlessly. Next arrived Superman, and he first covered his eyes with scrap metal as the android scanned everyone's powers with its eyes. However, even Superman could not take him down. And finally, Batman arrived with a piece of kryptonite. Amazo was immediately weakened by it, as after acquiring Superman's powers, he also got his weaknesses. But Amazo somehow managed to escape. In the next round of battle between Amazo and the Justice League, Lex was also present with his power suit. Batman's kryptonite did not work as Amazo had evolved and grown resistant to it. As Lex and Amazo were about to destroy the Justice League, Martian Manhunter arrived to stop him, but with words. Amazo copied his abilities, and using his ability to read minds, he learned that Lex was lying to him. As he attempted to kill Lex Luthor, the latter pressed the kill switch, which detonated a bomb at the base of Amazo's head, but that too failed to stop him. Finally, Lex began begging for his life, after which Amazo spared him. He stated that there was no purpose for him to stay on Earth, and left for deep space, believing himself to be a god. As he left, he took a golden form. This version of Amazo made his return in Season 1, Episode 7 of the Justice League Unlimited animated show. He was first spotted by the Guardians of Oa as he rushed towards them at tremendous speed. Next, he made his way to Earth, and the Justice League dispatched each and every member to stop him. There were 3 lines of defense, one in outer space, one in the upper atmosphere, and one on the streets. All of them were decimated with little or no effort from the android. Amazo's sole reason for visiting was to find Lex Luthor, who had once manipulated and used him. However, when he met Lex, the conversation between them showed Lex's power over his words. All this while he was in the cosmos. He amassed an unfathomable amount of knowledge, and now he does not know his purpose. Amazo, in the episode, had been shown to attain a godlike status, and he clearly mentioned how he could decimate all of creation if he wanted. However, Lex smartly explained that since he was an android and would live forever, he could be the only one to witness the true fate of creation. Thus, Lex saved the world with his words, and Amazo decided to calm himself down and find the purpose of his existence. Previously, Oa, which had appeared to be decimated by the collision with Amazo, was revealed to be shifted in another dimension. Amazo, in a small amount of time, shifted the entire planet, along with the ultra-powerful Guardians, into another dimension. And when Green Lantern John Stewart asked him if he could get it back, he brought it back in a second. Amazo had indeed become a godlike being. Dr. Fate offered his assistance to Amazo and took him to his Tower of Fate. He remained with Dr. Fate until episode 11, titled Wake the Dead, when an uncontrolled Solomon Grundy was mistakenly summoned by a group of students. Superman tried reasoning, but it did not help much. Soon the entire Justice League arrived to stop the monster, who managed to overpower all of them. Dr. Fate arrived with Amazo in hopes that the android could take Grundy down. Amazo released a highly powerful cosmic blast only to find that the latter could absorb it. Realizing that he might end up making Grundy even more powerful and dangerous, Amazo left for space, and that was the last time Amazo was seen. On August 19, 2017, Amazo was introduced in the 32nd episode of the Justice League animated series titled Boo-Ray for Bizarro. He overwhelmed and captured all members of the Justice League, following which he was confronted by Bizarro. Unlike his appearance in the previous animated series, Amazo was shown to be tall and muscular with cropped, light brown hair and red eyes, and he wore green and black leggings. It was close to his look in the older version but slightly modified. As Amazo tried reasoning with Bizarro, he ended up absorbing Bizarro's way of thinking, following which he blew up his own circuits. In the Arrowverse, Amazo was shown to be created by Ivo Laboratories, and his appearance was completely robot-like. His name, Amazo, was the abbreviation of Anti-Metahuman Adaptive Zooatomic Organism. Throughout his many appearances, he was able to copy the powers and abilities of Killer Frost, Elongated Man, Supergirl, Superman, Green Arrow, and The Flash. How can Amazo replicate the superpowers of any metahuman? Amazo's primary power was his ability to replicate the powers of any metahuman. There were different technological explanations for this ability, but it all converged into the fact that Amazo could replicate anyone by just scanning them. In his early iterations from the Silver Age, his powers were possible due to the absorption cell technology. The effect of copying could be cumulative, depending on the type of his interaction. He could save all of them and use them selectively when needed. In the animated series, it was nanotech that helped Amazo replicate powers. Owing to the nanoparticles, he replicated their looks as well. During his first encounter with Lex Luthor, he replicated his looks and later did the same with Martian Manhunter. Does he have the ability to replicate the weapon of superheroes? Amazo's ability to replicate superpowers also comes with the ability to replicate their weapons. Amazo, in his first appearance in The Brave and the Bold issue 30, effortlessly duplicated Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. He also managed to replicate Green Lantern's power ring and use it exactly like a Green Lantern. In the animated series, when Amazo first encountered Hawkgirl, along with powers, he duplicated her mace as well. Next, when he met Green Lantern John Stewart, he duplicated his Green Lantern power ring as well. Thus, it can be concluded that Amazo can duplicate the weapons of his opponents, no matter how strong or unique they are.
You don't have any powers. I have this.
Amazo also duplicates the weakness of others. When Amazo copied the abilities of any being, he also developed their weaknesses. In the Justice League animated show, Amazo acquired Superman's weakness of exposure to kryptonite. However, in the second encounter with the Justice League, when Batman exposed him to kryptonite, Amazo simply stated that he had evolved and threw the piece of kryptonite at Superman, rendering him unconscious briefly. Professor Ivo had designed Amazo in such a way that the android could continue evolving, and so he developed a sort of resistance to kryptonite. In the Arrowverse, when Amazo replicated the Kryptonian physiology after scanning Kara and Clark, he became vulnerable to kryptonite.
It was all a lie, wasn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Then let me spell it out.
Does Amazo have human emotions? Amazo is an android and technically should not be having any sort of emotion or expression. However, things certainly changed after his appearance in the animated shows of 2003 and 2004. Amazo expressed his feelings for Ivo, showing concerns after his death. It was his emotions for which Lex managed to control him through manipulation. Lex convinced Amazo that after Ivo, he was the closest one to him, like a father. Amazo was loyal to Lex and agreed to fight the strongest beings on the planet. However, when he realized Lex was lying, he was angry, something which is technically not possible for machines. The character eventually developed a mind of its own and later developed a sense of vengeance as well. When he confronted Lex Luthor, he was angry about the fact that Lex had manipulated him. He also wanted to know the purpose of its existence. Humans find their purpose while machines are instructed. Thus, it can clearly be concluded that the variant from the animated series was evolving into a superior being capable of feeling and expressing his emotions. Can Amazo penetrate the depths of the mind? Amazo's power to replicate the abilities of other superpowered beings gave him a wide variety of abilities. After replicating the powers of the Martian Manhunter, he was able to use telepathy and reach the depths of the mind. He first used it to read Luthor's mind and find out that the man was lying to him throughout. Amazo can teleport any planet from one dimension to another. After learning about the malice in Lex Luthor, Amazo realized that he had no purpose on planet Earth and left for space. He spent a significant amount of time in space, where he acquired immense knowledge. During this period, it can be assumed that he encountered several powerful beings and replicated their powers, because Amazo clearly shifted Oa into a new dimension in a fraction of a second, showcased in the animated series. And as mentioned before, Amazo shifted Oa back and forth from its dimension to another in a fraction of a second.
In my travels through space.
Harnessing the power of cosmic blasts, Amazo's destructive force unleashed. Although most of Amazo's powers were derived from other beings, he is shown to be able to harness powerful cosmic blasts. He did use it against Grundy and wished to end the monster once and for all. Now, Grundy absorbed it, leaving us confused as to what extent the blast was effective, but it clearly showed capable of stopping Grundy for a brief moment of time, who was clearly toying with the Justice League members. Although the small instance was not enough to quantify the magnitude of the blast, it was surely more powerful than that of a Green Lantern's power ring.
Now it's my turn.
Amazo's evolution beyond nanotechnology. The building blocks of Amazo's unique physiology are nanoparticles. Now in earlier iterations, they have spoken of absorption cell technology, but the way he replicated weapons without adding any extra mass to its body clearly suggests that it was owing to the aid of nanoparticles. In the second part of Tabula Rasa, when Luthor, intending to end Amazo, detonated the bomb on its head, the android instantly regenerated another one. This shows that his head was not the center of command or instruction, but rather each nanoparticle. However, since Professor Ivo's prime objective for Amazo was such that he could keep evolving, Amazo surpassed the limits of nanotechnology. In the Justice League Unlimited episode titled The Return, when Amazo rushed to Earth to find Lex, the latter was aware that there was no escaping. The Justice League formed several defenses, and even sent Supergirl, Steel, and Atom to escort Lex Luthor to safety. Ray Palmer, aka the Atom, was an expert in nanotech, and together with Luthor, he devised a nanotechnological weapon that could disintegrate Amazo's nanoparticles. However, when the moment arrived, and Luthor fired his ultimate weapon, it barely left a scratch on Amazo. It was useless, and as stated by Amazo himself, he had evolved and self-developed himself beyond nanotechnology. Can he reproduce? Does he have a son? Technically, Amazo cannot reproduce, as he is an android. However, in the JLA Classified comic series, a kid Amazo was showcased in the 4-part story arc of the same name. The story begins with the Justice League battling Amazo while a college student named Frank Halloran watches his girlfriend Sarah get almost crushed by falling debris. Later, Frank was kidnapped by Amazo, who told him that he was his son. To prove that Frank was an android, Amazo knocked him hard on the ground, which proved he was not human. Amazo explained to him that his sole purpose was to destroy the Justice League, but Frank rejected his offer and left. As the story progressed, it was revealed that, like Amazo, Frank was also created by Professor Ivo and gestated inside his daughter and lab assistant Sarah's womb. Thus, he was born with the abilities of Amazo, along with a biological half provided by his mother. However, this was not known to him, and Sarah later posed as his girlfriend from college so as to keep an eye on him and guide him in the right direction. Unlike his father, Amazo, Frank could copy the creativity and personality of his targets, making him far superior and advanced than Amazo. When Frank copied the personalities of the Justice League members in his head, it created a conflict of command regarding whether he should follow the path of his father or not. This eventually became too much for him to handle, and he ended up self-destructing himself. Amazo's Achilles heel revealed, uncovering the superhuman's limitations and weaknesses. Amazo was a super-powered android capable of taking down even Superman. He was programmed to take down the Justice League and could not be defeated. However, its command codes could be toed with or even tricked. Of course, we are not talking about the golden Amazo who was programmed to evolve. We are talking about the version of Amazo from the Silver Age. In JLA Volume 1, Issue 27, we got a glimpse of how Amazo could be deactivated by just confusing him with his objectives. In the issue, the Justice League members were summoned to Florida, where Huntress, Steel, and Wonder Woman had discovered Amazo, about to be activated within an hour. Although Steel tried deactivating the android, but all that was futile. Amazo activated itself and began fighting the Justice League members. He was unstoppable until Superman, the newly appointed chairman of the Justice League, informed Amazo that the Justice League had been disbanded. Hearing this, Amazo collapsed, thereby ending the threat. In other iterations, Amazo was shown to have a few weaknesses. In the Silver Age version of Amazo, the powers replicated by him were not permanent and were lost after a certain time interval. In the Arrowverse, Amazo's programming was shut after Team Flash infected him with a virus created by Cisco and Caitlin to reverse engineer Amazo's programming.
Evolve.
Marvelous verdict. Finally, we have to come to the end of our video, and we hope you have liked our content. Amazo is undoubtedly one of the biggest threats faced by the Justice League, and his power limits had no boundaries. Needless to say, how awesome it would be if the movies incorporated the golden version of Amazo. Feel free to comment with pointers about Amazo, and also state which version of Amazo was your favorite. Thank you for watching till the end, and stay tuned for the next Marvelous video.